everyone, lovely to be back with you all again for our Storytime Thursdays. We're going to take a little break from Harry Potter now because we're a really lovely place to stop, but don't worry, we will continue it when we come back to school. I thought we'd have a couple of nice non-fiction stories today from this beautiful book called Slow Down, which is full of stories about nature. So I thought today we could learn about bees. The first couple of pages I'm going to read are all about how a bee pollinates a flower. It could be said that a bee's most important job is to pollinate a flower. Without pollination, plants can't reproduce and fruits can't grow. When a bee collects nectar from a flowering plant, which is what it's doing here, some pollen from the male part of the flower sticks to the hairs on its body. When the bee visits the next flower, this pollen is rubbed off onto the stigma, the female part of the flower. At that moment, pollination occurs. Watch this happen in a bright springtime garden. So this might be happening in your gardens around about now or in the next couple of weeks. The bee uses her antennae to find the garden's sweetest flowers. Did you know that different types of bee are attracted to different types of flowers? I didn't know that. I've learned something new there. Peering into the shallow nectar of the flower, the bee dips her tongue in and drinks deeply. As she drinks, she brushes against the stamens of the flower and pollen sticks to her legs. She flies to another flower. As she lands and tucks into the nectar, the pollen rubs off her legs onto the flower's stigma. And as you can see, this flower is now pollinated. Ready to explore the rest of the garden, the bee looks up to scout her next meal. And she's off in search of another flower. So that is how a bee pollinates a flower. I'm going to skip to this little story now, which is all about honeybees and how honeybee hives work. A honeybee hive is home to around 40,000 bees, living and working together like clockwork. Each colony has one queen bee, several hundred male drones, and thousands of female workers. The queen lays the eggs, the drones mate with the queen, and the workers do everything else. Right throughout their lives, worker bees take on different jobs to make sure that the whole hive survives. Visiting up to 2,000 flowers every day to collect nectar. These workers also do all the housekeeping. They feed the queen, the drones, and the young larvae. They collect pollen and nectar, like we just found out about, and make wax. Because they work so hard, they only live for a short time, just 6 weeks in the summer. Watch them get to work on this spring morning. They clean. Every cell in the hive must be cleaned before it's reused for storing honey or new eggs. They feed the hive. Foraging nectar from flowers and plants, they come back to the hive over and over again to deliver food. They make wax. At around 12 days old, wax flakes begin to appear on the bees' bellies. This wax is used to build new wax cells and cap the ones storing honey. They dance. Honeybees can't talk, so they communicate with movement. Why? When they find a great source of nectar, they perform a sort of waggle dance, showing other worker bees how to find it. Isn't that interesting? I never thought about worker bees doing little dances to communicate with each other before. They guard the hive. Every bee that visits the hive is checked by a leading worker bee to make sure they're part of their colony. She may also sound the alarm if a gang of wasps is nearby. They make honey. Nectar is 3/4 water, so once it is brought back to the hive, the bees dry it out by passing it from mouth to mouth before storing it in wax cells. Then they beat their wings to further dry the nectar and turn it into honey. And finally, they sleep. Even the toughest worker bees need 6 hours a day of undisturbed rest. A busy day tomorrow awaits. I hope you enjoyed these couple of little stories learning about bees. Have a little look this Easter to see if you can spot any bees that may be around now. Have a lovely Easter break, everyone. I cannot wait to catch up with you all soon.